Ladies and gentlemen, this is Big Ray's Wrestling Show. If you don't know me, I am the Mark of the Masses, the man with the plan. Big Ray here to stay to talk some TNA today. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Genesis Part 2, 123-2014. Guys, this show had a lot of ups, had a lot of downs. Now, a lot of the wrestling today, a lot of the matches on this card, I didn't really enjoy, but I did enjoy the storytelling throughout the show. Usually it's the other way around for me. Usually I enjoy the matches and I'm not too keen on the storytelling, but I think whoever's taking over the writing in TNA, whatever they're doing now in TNA regarding story writing, I'm starting to really enjoy. Now, I gotta say that the last two matches for me saved the show. Let's jump right into the show. We have a backstage segment where we see DIXIE Carter, Rockstar Spud, Magnus, and a high-powered attorney. Now, the attorney is basically warning DIXIE Carter and the regime of, or hashtag Team DIXIE, of a hostile takeover by the new investor. Now, the lawyer says that DIXIE and Team DIXIE will have to play by this investor's rules for now. But DIXIE says that she needs Magnus to win. Magnus, the most important thing is that you win tonight. Now, prior to this, Magnus actually told DIXIE, well, you know what? They can make all the rules they want, but, we can make rules too. So what I want is, I want a no disqualification, no count out match. Which the lawyer says, you know what? I think I can sell that. So that will be the main event of the evening. Magnus versus Sting, World Heavyweight title, the TNA World Heavyweight title versus Sting's career. And we're going to talk a little bit about that later on. So Magnus, EC3, and Rockstar Spud move into the ring, and they basically call out Sting. They basically call out Sting's manhood. Magnus says, Sting, you haven't held your end of the bargain. What kind of a man are you? Well, Sting comes to the ring, and Sting basically... and Magnus accuses Sting of paying off the new investor. Now, my good friend Andre Corbeil, you could follow him at Andre_Corbeil. And don't forget to check out the Can-Am Wrestling Show this week, guys, by the way. Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we're going to really get in depth on this investor. But Sting is accused of paying off the investor. Sting says he has no idea what the hell they're talking about, basically. And Magnus reminds Sting that he tapped out to Magnus at Bound for Glory. Well, Sting says that he learned from his mistakes, and it's not going to happen again. And Sting goes on to tell Magnus that he lost his self-respect. Well, Magnus, offended, slaps the living crap out of Sting. And Sting retaliates, and Sting attacks Magnus, but then obviously Rockstar Spud and the EC3 both jump in 3-on-1. And then, like a freaking freight train, Samoa Joe comes down to the ring and makes the save, and Samoa Joe proclaims on the microphone that Sting, through the investor, the investor proclaimed that Sting could have one person in his corner, and that one person is the Samoan submission machine, Samoa Joe. So we move on, and now we move on to a match that, guys, you never hear me trash TNA like this, and I'm not going to trash them, but I gotta say that this match stunk. It sucked. I didn't enjoy it at all. It was Cowboy James Storm versus Gunner. I think James Storm has to get as far away from Gunner as possible. Guys, I know TNA is trying to make a star out of Gunner. My personal and humble opinion, I don't see it. There's just something about Gunner. Can you guys tell me? Leave your comments here below at OneWrestling.com and YouTube /OneWrestling video. What is it about Gunner that I just don't buy? I mean, he's a big man. He's got a good look. He's good in the ring. What is it about Gunner that I just don't feel, if that makes any sense to you guys? But listen, it was another one. It was Gunner versus Cowboy James Storm, Mr. Sorry About Your Damn Luck, for the #1 contender case. And like I said, I didn't enjoy the match at all. And I enjoyed less how the match ended. Basically, we have Cowboy James Storm going up to get the suitcase. Now he actually has a hold of the suitcase, but doesn't have. It's like football where you have the reception, but you know you don't have full control, so they don't count it as a reception as you hit the mat. And that's basically what happened. Long story short, Cowboy James Storm did not have a full grasp or control. Gunner was able to climb the second rope and hit the electric chair drop off the second rope, and then that case went flying. And then in an anticlimactic ending, Gunner is able to punch and headbutt his way to getting the case. Again, I wasn't a really big fan of this match, so why don't we move on to a match that I actually did enjoy, and it was the X Division Championship match, and it was pretty good. It was okay. It was okay. The matches actually got better as the night proceeded, and again we have Austin Aries versus Chris Sabin. Now, prior to this match, we had on Impact 365 they showed a clip of Velvet Sky, and anyway, long story short, Chris Sabin sent her a metal pipe to take with her to obviously give him during the match to help him out. Now, during the match, we have Chris Sabin, and and don't forget Velvet Sky had been placed in a cage. So much for women's liberations and rights in this day and age. But anyway, long story short, she comes down to the ring. She's carrying the little pretty gift bag that he placed the pipe in. She's in the cage, and you know, again, it was a relatively decent match, and he goes to get the bag from Velvet Sky. She hands him the bag, but the bag didn't have a pipe in it. It had a stuffed freaking bear. He pulls the bear out of the bag. He's looking at this and like, what the hell? And then Austin Aries comes flying off the top rope, a la the Macho Man, with the double axe handle onto the floor outside the ring, then tossing Chris Sabin into the ring, onto the corner, hitting a beautiful missile drop kick into the corner, knocking Chris Sabin the hell out. Then taking Chris Sabin, picking him up and hitting him with a devastating brainbuster for the 1-2-3. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a new X Division champion in Austin Aries, and again, I don't know if it was me, but the crowd just didn't seem into it. But from what I understand, Austin Aries was trending worldwide on Twitter today. But anyway, we're gonna keep on moving on, and after the commercial, we have a really interesting promo by the Amercican Wolves, who I am really excited to see. I've been following for a long time, and Andre Corbeil has been saying for a long time that these guys are coming over to TNA, and they are here. They were brought in by the investor, and they basically warned that next week the hunt is on and the investor will be revealed in Scotland. I am really interested to see who this investor is. So we're going to move on, and then we have a really good match. Now, this is where everything started to pick up, and I again enjoyed these last few matches where we had Bobby Roode versus Kurt Angle. Now, I took a lot of notes down for this. I'm going to try to go mostly off the top of my head. But basically, after smashing each other's faces into the cage, before that, Bobby Roode picked up Kurt Angle and smashed Kurt Angle into the cage with a power bomb, and one of the more vicious assaults I've seen in a long time in a cage. Now, basically, after smashing each other's faces into the cage, Kurt Angle gets the upper hand. Bobby Roode's on the ground. Kurt Angle goes to the top of the cage where he could have just climbed out and won the match. But Kurt Angle climbs to the top of that cage, and just like Taz says, it looks like Kurt Angle fell out of a freaking building. Kurt Angle does one of the most beautiful somersaults and misses. So we're going back and forth, and long story short, we have Bobby Roode, who previously had been put in an ankle lock. His knee was bad, so he was having trouble actually getting out of the ring. Now they're going back and forth. Roode is trying to escape the ring, and he He attempts once or twice. Kurt Angle ends up dragging him back into the ring and slapping on the ankle lock, but Bobby Roode is able to break that. And then finally, Bobby Roode hits the Roode bomb for the 1, 2. No, ladies and gentlemen, Kurt Angle actually kicks out. Kurt Angle then hits an angle slam. Bobby Roode kicks out. Now, they go to the top rope, holding onto the cage, and they start basically beating the living hell out of each other. Kurt Angle hitting him with these hammer fist backhands, Bobby Roode hitting him with straight right hands, and they're going back and forth. Finally, Kurt Angle hits him with this one last shot, and Bobby Roode, let's just say, if this is the rope, Bobby Roode does one of these. He splits the rope, and that basically takes him out. So we think Kurt Angle climbs to the top of the cage. Bobby Roode crawls to the door. It's a split screen, 1, 2, going back and forth, back and forth. Who's going to come out first? Bobby Roode is out the door. Kurt Angle drops. Looks like he injured his knee, but thank God I think he did not. Maybe he was selling it. But Kurt Angle drops to the floor. His door is wide open for the Hall of Fame. And Kurt Angle wins this match. Guys, that was a good match. You got to go back and check that out. Now, backstage, we have EC3 firing up Rockstar Spud, telling Rockstar that he is a champion. He is a British boot camp champion, excuse me. And, well, Rockstar Spud starts to scream and, I guess, growl like a lion or a tiger, and starts throwing chairs all over the office in the back, but all over the locker room, but whatever. So we got BroMans in the ring, and they were DJ Zema Ion, and they're basically totally putting themselves over. Now, they proclaim that Eric Young and Joseph Park are basically going down. And Eric Young comes into the ring, and he proceeds to attack the three. And he's doing a hell of a job, but, you know, it's 3-on-1. Let's be real. And Eric Young basically gets taken down. Now, while all this crap is happening in the ring, all this pendulum, guys, guess what? The monster, Abyss, makes his way to the ring, hits a choke slam, hits a black hole slam, and then the shock treatment backbreaker on Zema Ion, clearing the ring, and then proceeds to put a choke slam hold on Eric Young. Is Eric Young going to be able to control the monster? They kept emphasizing on this, did the play-by-play team. And it's going to be really interesting. But I actually see Eric Young and Abyss winning the tag team titles eventually. Now, we move on and we have basically a squash match. Now, Dixie Carter had told Rockstar Spud that she needed someone to take out, let's just say, Samoa Joe. Unfortunately for Rockstar Spud, he was the guy chosen. He comes to the ring, he basically gets the living hell beaten out of him, and Samoa Joe makes him tap out to the rear naked choke in a squash match. But Samoa Joe looked really strong going into the main event. Now, speaking of the main event, guys, we jump into the main event of the evening. Sting, his career, versus Magnus's TNA World Heavyweight Championship. A lot of stuff happened in this match, and I really enjoyed the storytelling in this match. Basically, during the match, EC3 is sent down to the ring, and Samoa Joe gets right in his face and makes him back the hell up. Sting is able to slap on the Scorpion Deathlock, excuse me, and Bad Influence now comes into the ring, and they break it up. Samoa Joe and Sting basically clear the ring. Samoa Joe, with the three men outside the ring, hits a suicide dive. How does he get that huge body in between the ropes? I gotta be honest with you, it's quite impressive. Samoa Joe is one of my favorite in-ring performers, and he's so believable, and this guy is one hell of an athlete. Leave your comment here below. I would like to know what you guys think about Samoa Joe, his athleticism. Man, I know he's a TNA star, but I would kind of love to see what he would do in a WWE stage if he was ever given the chance. But anyway, so they're basically taken out. Now, Sting hits the Scorpion Death Drop, pins the champion, but Zema Ion comes down to the ring and pulls the referee out. So as we can see, there's something developing here. Dixie Carter is obviously sending out the troops. Now the BroMans come down to the ring and they take out Samoa Joe, throwing him into the steel steps. Samoa Joe is taken out. They start to come in the ring and they start to basically beat the living crap out of Sting. But guess what? Yes, your Olympic hero Kurt Angle comes into the ring. I guess his knee is feeling fine and he clears the ring. And when I say he clears the ring, he hits every single type of back suplex. He totally took everyone out, hitting his angle slam. He totally cleared the ring. Now basically, this all boils down to all the men brawling up the ramp to the backstage, which leaves Sting alone with Magnus in the ring. Now, Sting is going for a a stinger splash into the corner, and he's about to hit Magnus, but guess what? The referee is pulled in the way, and the referee is hit and knocked out. Now, it really doesn't make a difference if the referee is really knocked out, I guess, in this point in juncture, being that it's a DQ match. But anyway, Sting puts on the Scorpion Deathlock again, and actually for the first time in a long time, Sting sits back and makes Magnus tap. Well, I guess it does kind of mean something, because guess what? There was no referee. And Bobby Roode, just like he did when it was time to take out AJ Styles, Bobby Roode attacks Sting from behind, taking him out. Dixie Carter drags Earl Hebner to the ring with contract in hand. Magnus pins Sting for the slow. Earl Hebner didn't want to do it, but he said 1, 2, 3. Is this the end for Sting in TNA Wrestling? Is it possible, guys, that Sting could have anything to do with the investor? Or is Sting just done with Impact Wrestling? Will he retire? Will he have that one match at WrestleMania with The Undertaker? Maybe he shows up at the Royal Rumble. Guys, anything is possible. You know, you never say never in the world of professional wrestling. And I have a good idea that we may be shocked in the next couple of weeks when it comes down to Sting. Now, I want you guys to tune into the Can-Am Wrestling Show again this Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you haven't seen myself and Andre Corbeil, we had a hell of a guest. We had Mr. Boomstick himself, Jay Bradley. And Jay Bradley was a phenomenal guest. Go back, check out that show. And then I want you to check out this weekend show, because we're going to give you a full Royal Rumble prediction show. But then we're also going to talk about a little bit about the investor, TNA. I don't want to get too much into the show. Check it out, guys. Remember, Can-Am Wrestling Show. Ladies and gentlemen, I say this every single week. I would do this for a living, but if I can, I would do it anyway. Why? Because I love talking wrestling. You can follow us here every single week at OneWrestling.com, YouTube /OneWrestlingVideo. Follow us on Twitter at OneWrestling. Please follow my good friend Andre Corbeil at Andre_Corbeil. Follow the legend Bill Apter. And if you haven't seen his article at WWE.com, go back and take a read. Yes, Bill Apter wrote an awesome article at WWE.com talking about the night Bruno Sammartino lost his title to Ivan Koloff. You gotta take a read of that, man. But anyway, follow me on Twitter at Big Ray Show. But follow Bill Apter first at ApterOneWrestling.com. Ladies and gentlemen, I will see you this Saturday for the Can-Am Wrestling Show. Look for us on YouTube at Andre Corbeil. And it's going to be really interesting. Oh, and I will be doing a full Royal Rumble recap after the Rumble. So look out for it, guys. I love you guys. I appreciate you so much. Positive or negative, the truth is we do this because we love wrestling. And I appreciate all the positive. I appreciate the constructive negative criticism. And all I ask you to do is just be respectful, guys. I respect you guys and I love you. I'll talk to you next week. Peace.